Today we're looking at how we're going to set up the Flutter app. So we're going to be running it using Chrome, which we did in the we've done this in the previous video. So just to take a little bit of break, we decided to do something different. So as I said, I'm running a lot on my PC, and I won't be able to run some powerful IDE emulators. You understand? So we are having issues right now. So we are doing the Flutter cleanup, which we come into the lib, then the main of that. So we cleaned up the void main run app. So now we want to look into some extensions we're going to be downloading for this application. So we've done some cleanup here. So that's why I'm having this error run app and nothing is happening. So let's come to the extension tab here. And we're going to install some extensions that we're going to be needing. And the first extension we're going to be needing is the bracket pair colorizer. So the bracket pair colorizer is important, so you can just download the bracket pair colorizer. The next thing we would need to have installed is awesome Flutter snippet, and that is very useful when it comes to scaffolding some stuff like a stateless widget, the stateful widgets. We're still going to be looking at. We're going to be looking into that. So I'll just put in the awesome Flutter. That's pretty awesome. Very well. Yeah, the awesome Flutter snippet. So this is important. Awesome Flutter snippet. We are going to be needing beta comments. And beta comment is important. Then we're going to need the material icon theme. So the material icon theme is so that you can have a kind of icon in here. So let me show you. Just type in material icon theme. So I have one in here. So I'm going to set it. So once I come in here, you can see we have this kind of material icon theme. The folders are different. So it depends on what you want. Then the next thing we need is pop spec assets. So I'm going to come back to the extension and I'm going to type on pop spec. I explained what all this meant. So that's all. So once you've gotten all of that, that is the most important extensions that we are going to be needing: the bracket pair colorizer, the awesome Flutter snippets, better comments, material icon themes, and the pop spec assets. So let's now go into what we're going to be building. Now we are going to be explaining the run app, but before we do that, we're going to be explaining what that functions are. So we're going to leave all of these now, and we're going to explain that function so that you can understand what is going on in here. So I'm going to go into my Chrome, and I'm going to type. I'm going to my datpad.ide. So we'll go to datpad, and we're going to start working on that part here. So what is a function? Now we have a main function which is void main. This is a function. Once you see, and this function is returning nothing. A function that returns nothing is a function that is just going to do something and it's not going to give you anything back. And this kind of functions, you cannot save it somewhere. Now a function is a block of code. It doesn't run until you call it. But this function called main is one of Flutter important that function, which is main, and it immediately runs when you execute the application. So let's create a function. Now you can create a function by specifying the kind of function you want to create. Void means nothing, so we can actually print something here. So let me say void hello, followed by this brackets. Then we have this. Now I can decide to print hello inside here. Now once I come in here to run these codes, nothing is going to happen because I've created this function and I've not called it. I've created this function, I've not called it. So for me to call this function, I have to come in here and I have to call in hello. Now, you have to call that function the way you created it. If you are using the uppercase, use the uppercase. Where you use the lowercase, so it's case sensitive. So now this is creating a function, declaring the function, and this is calling the function. So just imagine that two brackets like a telephone. So now I'm calling the function inside the main, because once the code runs, the computer goes inside there and checks everything. So once I click on here, we're going to enter inside the function, and there is one instruction there which is to print hello. So this is a function. If I don't call the function, maybe I just print in something here, hi, and I close it here and I run it now, you'd see that this won't run, although it's inside the code is inside the file. It won't run, and that's because we only created the function, we've not called the function. So I can come in here and I can call the function now, and the name of the function is hello. Now it is up to you to give the function any name you want. So whatever name you give it here, I can come here and say hello Vic. Make sure you have to call it in here as hello Vic. Now you can use anything to create functions, but not reserved words. You can't use reserved words to create function. So once I run it now, you can see that we have both hi and hello, and that is functions for you. Now this function returns nothing, and when functions return nothing, you do things that are just normal, like you can print stuff, you can do stuff. Now there are functions that return something. So a function that returns int, let's call it calculator. You have to use the return keyword at the end, and once you've used the return keyword, you can't write anything beneath it. So once I say return 100, I can't write anything beneath here. It is not, the return is the last thing you're going to have in a function. You can do some kind of calculations here, which I'm going to show you in a jiffy, and you're going to return. Now this is specifying int, which means you have to return an int. Now one of the issues with the return function is that you have to save the value. It's giving you a value. This whole function now becomes 100, and you need to store it somewhere. So I can decide to say int answer is equals to calculator, and like this. Now this calculator is going to evaluate to 100, and we're going to be storing it inside the answer. So if I come in here and I print answer, we are to get 100 here, which the function is giving back to us. So once I run it now, you can see we're going to be having 100. So functions that return something can actually be stored in somewhere. Now if this function is returning an int and you go and put in a string, you're going to have an error. Here it says a value of type string can't be returned from the function calculator because it has a return type of type int. So whatever you specify the function is going to return, you should actually return that particular stuff. You can also return dynamic, you can return whatsoever. So if we use dynamic, so we can return hello, we can return anything. So we explained what dynamic is in the previous class. So this takes us back to Flutter and understanding what the function is actually talking about. So back in here, we'll come to our main.dat. It says this run app needs a kind of application. Now because we have installed what's it called? We've installed some extensions. There are two types of widgets that we have. There are two widgets that you should know. We have the stateless widget and we have the stateful widget. A stateless widget is a kind of widget that things inside that widget shouldn't change, and they are very fixed. They don't change. They don't equal. They cannot be manipulated after creation. While a stateful widget means something that can dynamically change later. So to create a stateless widget, we're going to be using a stateless widget now. because we want to create our Flutter app. I'm going to put st, and we have to wait for these options to come out. So we have the stateful widget and we have the stateless widget. So once we click on this stateless widget, it gives you this kind of wrap in here. As you can see it, you get this kind of wrap in here, and it tells you to change the name. You'd have seen it before, blinking on this name. So we have to come here and give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name called my app. Then this is the widget in here. Then I'm going to come to this run app. Now this is kind of returning a container. So let's just imagine it like a class. We're going to be talking about class later. So this run app is going to run this stateless widget, because everything in Flutter is a widget. I'm going to explain that later. A widget is like the building stones of Flutter mobile application. Widget upon widget upon widget. So you will get the grasp of it as we go into it. So there is no need for you to understand this now. We'll kind of override. I'll be explaining this later. Then we have the override. Then we have the widget build. So this is like we have the container. So now once I want to run this app, I just put in some kind of const. Now I'm using const because I don't want it to change. It is my main entry point into the application. And I'll say my app. Now it means when Flutter wants to build this application and render it, we want to run my app. So, and the app is bringing out a container, and you see that the whole screen will be black. So once I save it now, I can come in here and I can clear. Then I'm going to put Flutter run. So let me just do this and click enter. So I'm going to put in 2 as Chrome. So it's going to take a little bit of time to, keep it up for us. And I'm going to check in here that we've talked about the run app and what it means. And we've talked about the stateless widget. So stateless widget, I've said, is a kind of widget that is, so let's just look at the documentation and saying stateless widgets in Flutter. The stateless widget is a widget that describes the parts of the user interface by building a constellation of other widgets that describe the user interface more concretely. The building process continues recursively until the description of the user interface is fully concrete. So it's just how the building blocks to stateless widget. So it's kind of fixed. You don't have too much kind of dynamic changes. So maybe you want to build the about section, the fact section in the page, or just a kind of intro screen. Something that is not going to change. There we want to use a stateless widget. So by just typing STL, you would see the drop down and you can select the stateless widget. So to wait for this to build, then we're going to continue. So yeah, we got the app spinning up, and let me just put this here. So that's the application in here. So this is a container. Now there is nothing inside the container. That is why it's kind of white. There is nothing there. So it's going to be like that. So today we're going to be talking about a widget, which is the main widget. The main widget. And it's very important. It comes in whenever you're using what's it called? The stateless widget. So I'm going to remove this container. So let's just put in this here. Now we don't want to return a container. We want to return the main widget, and it's called material app. So you can come in here and type in material. So the material app is a widget. Now one thing you should know is that widget starts with a capital letter. Widgets are like building blocks. Everything on an application is a widget. So just imagine this stateless widget like the skeleton of the application. Like this is a skeleton. They want to start building on top of it. So we have something called the material app. So now the material app is the main widget. Everything is going to flow inside it, within it, if you get what I'm trying to say. Now inside the material app, inside the widget, we have arguments, we have properties, if you understand. So we press Control and plus, you get to see, sorry, so I just want to close the screen. On Control and space, I mean, then you would see all the arguments we have. We have actions, builder, color, so everything that makes up this material app. But we're going to be talking about one of those widgets, which is called the home, the scaffold. We're talking about the home and the scaffold. So we're going to be looking at all those what's it called? All those widgets. So once you open I'm going to open the material app. Now the first thing we want to take inside the material app is like a home. As you can see it here, we have a home. We have shift and space. Let me remove all of these. Control space. We have the home. As you can see, we have the actions. You can see so many of it inside it. So that is the material app. So we have various things inside it. Then inside the home, we can now have another widget which we can call the scaffold. So this is the home and this is the scaffold. Now the home is like the main, what you want to show first, like the home, the main home. Now the home is a property of the material app, like the root of the application. So we are returning the material app in here, and we're having the home. Now this is a widget which takes argument, and one of the arguments we're looking at is what's it called? The home. So let me save here and do a hot reload or restart. So let's see. I'm waiting for it to come up. So now can you see that this is the scaffold? Now the scaffold is the one giving you these the material app giving you this debug. So we are inside the material app, and then we're having this debug banner. Now this is the scaffold and this is the home. Now for us to remove the debug banner, we're going to do it later. So just to go through again, we have widget, arguments, widget. Now this is a widget called material app. Inside the widget, we have one argument called home. Now the home is like the first thing you want to meet, the first thing you are supposed to meet. Now scaffold is like you are trying to scaffold a page, like a page, if you understand. So just imagine scaffold like a page. It's going to have the app bar, it's going to have the body, and it's going to have the bottom navigation. We're going to be looking at those three basically in this particular day 2. Now inside the scaffold, there is another widget. And we'll call the first widget app bar. Now inside the scaffold is a widget, and the widget has arguments. The widget is in capital letter, as you can see, scaffold, while the properties should be in small letter. So we have app bar, which has another widget called app bar, something like this. So once we save it now, and I come in here and I click R, I'm going to restart it, then we can see the app bar. You see it? We have the app bar in here. So that is what is. So we have 3 of it: the app bar, the body, and the bottom navigation. And we're going to be looking at the three of them basically. So why we have this debug is because we're in production build, and for us to remove that debug, so I'm going to check this off my screen. We've talked about the main widget, which is the material app. We've talked about the home and the scaffold. Now the home is like the main page, the main thing you want to see, like the welcome page. So it's just like when you're working on a website and you have that index.html. So what is the first thing you want to see? The home page. We have scaffold. Now it can dynamically change later in the future, but this is how we intend to do it. So we've talked about the home and the scaffold. Now the home is a property of the material widget. The material app is the main widget, the tree, the first tree. We have one property. We have many properties of arguments there, and one of it is home. And the home is like the first page, and we could use a scaffold. Scaffold is like a kind of, just imagine it like a page builder. You're building a page. Now inside the scaffold we have three important components. It's not compulsory for you to use all. The app bar, we have the body, and we have the bottom navigation. So we're going to be looking at that three specifically, and we have looked at the app bar, and we're going to be doing more things under the app bar. So now let's check what can we put inside this app bar now. So what can we put inside the app bar? So you have to come inside this place in here. Let me just toggle this one down. You come inside here and press Control and space. We have actions, we have actions icon, but one of the things we are looking for is the title. The title. Now the title is another property, another argument of the app bar. That's the widget. The app bar is the widget. The scaffold has an argument called app bar, which has a small letter app bar, which is equals to an actual app bar widget. So this is a widget. If you have used phones very well, this is a widget. Now inside the app bar, we have another argument called title. Now this title takes a kind of widget too. So once you put Control and space, it takes a kind of widget, and the widget you can put there is a text widget. So there's a widget called text. Using it, there's a widget called text. Now if you notice the way I'm creating widgets, they are in capital letter. So widget, properties or argument equals to another widget. So let's look at the tree. So material app is a widget that has a property called home. Home takes another widget that has another property called app bar, which takes another widget called app bar, has another property called title, and the title takes a text. Now inside the text, we put in the first the first thing it takes. If you put your Control and space, it's going to load it for you. Now it takes the first thing you want it to take is a kind of what's it called, a string, an actual word. So you put in a double quotation, and I can put hello world app. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to Control R. Then we can see we have the hello world app. Now that's what we're going to be looking at in the app bar. There are so many properties you can put, but for now we're going to be looking at few properties. Now it's going to take you time to wrap your head around this, but it's worth everything step by step. So I'm going to go beneath it, and the next property we have under the scaffold, I said the scaffold is like a page. You're going to use this material app once, but you can use scaffold as many times as possible. Now the next thing we're going to take is the body. Now the body can take any kind of property that you wish to put. It can take a text, it can take a container. So let's just put a text widget there, and let's put hello world. So now I'm supposed to have my debugging tools here, but I don't know where they are. Let me just come in here and just click on R, and let's wait a minute. Okay, I forgot to save here. R. Yeah. Now can you see we have the text here, hello world. So that is like the body. So this is the body. Now, the last thing that we have here, which is kind of very, critical to understand, but I'm going to explain it, is the bottom navigation bar. So that's the last thing that you can have. So I'm going to type bottom navigation bar. Now, can you see that the bottom navigation bar starts with a small letter? But that's the property, that's the argument. Now, the widget is in capital letter, bottom navigation bar. Now, this bottom navigation bar takes an item. As you can see, it takes an item. So if you understand what the bottom navigation bar is talking about, so let me just break it down so that you can see it very well. So it takes an item here. It takes an item. Now, this item is a list. If you notice, one thing about bottom navigation is like a list of items in the downside where you can have the home, about, contact us, and the rest. But before we talk about that, we're going to explain what list is, and we're going to jump back into that part. So, what is list when it comes to programming? What is list, or what is a list in that? Now, if you want to, list is a collection of items. It's a collection of stuffs. Maybe you want to have foods, you want to have beverage, you want to have a list of things you do. Now, to create a list, you want to put in the word list, like we did before for string list. Then the name of your list. So let me just call this foods. Understand? Which is equals to. Then you use the square bracket for list. So I'm going to put 4 foods inside here, and you see how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put in rice, beans, and gari. So I can now print foods. And let's see what we are going to get in here. So once I run this is a list of foods. You can see we have rice, we have beans, and we have gari. So it's like a collection of items. Like when you want to group things, people in a class, maybe people who are going for a particular thing, and you want to group them together, you can use a list. It is not going to be right. It's another type of data type. It won't be right if you're going to be using a string to gather collections of items or stuffs. So we're going to use a list. Now I can decide to put other things inside the list. I can put 5, 7. Now once I run it, you're still going to have all of this inside this list. Now this list is already dynamic because it can take in anything. But you can also specify what kind of items you want in a list. Now you come to the front of the list. You're going to use this less than and greater than sign inside it, in between it. Now you're going to tell the list the only thing you want inside that list. So I can decide to say string. Now you're going to have an error. Now the computer is shouting, telling you that the element type int can be assigned to the list type. So we added 5 and 7 where we have specified that I want only a list of string. If you want int, you can delete the string and put in int. So like this, I have to remove this. And now you can only have a list of strings, which is rice, beans, and gari. The same thing for numbers. You can just remove all of this and put int. Like this. Now all these are going to show an error because these are not integers. So let me just turn this to numbers. And I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you notice, I am putting the comma. The comma means 1, the next one, 2, comma, next one, 3. So do not forget to put the comma. It's like a separator of what you want to add, if you get what I'm trying to say. So that is very, very important when it comes to lists. So I'm going to print in, because I've changed the name of the list. Now it's numbers. Then I'm going to run it now. So if we wait for it to come up a little, You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's list for you. It's another kind of data type. You can do stuff with it. So if you want it to be dynamic, you can specify dynamic in here, and this list can take in anything. It can take in rice, curry, and you can have so many things inside the list. So sorry, it's not supposed to be outside the brackets. So it was outside the brackets, so let me just put it here. So once I run it now, you can see that we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rice and curry. So back to what we're doing. The bottom navigation needs an item because it's going to have the home, the about, and so many more. So we're going to break this down here, and it tells us that we're going to need let's press Ctrl and space. We're going to need bottom navigation bar item, a bottom navigation bar item. So we're going to select this one. So it takes an icon. The first property it takes is an icon. So this is the first item on the list, the bottom navigation bar item. It takes an icon. The first property it takes is an icon. As you can see, the way everything is widget under widget under widget. So this bottom navigation has an argument called item. This item has a list, and inside this list we have another widget of each item. So you might not understand the graphs of it fully, but just try and follow along. We're still going to break everything, and in short, it's best for you if you can just try to understand, memorize, and just simple build. If you can just scaffold all of these. So this icon is going to take a widget called icon. Now, as you can see, the icon is in small letter, the widget is in capital letter. So the property for the icon takes a widget, an icon widget. We're still going to explain all these icon widgets. Icon widget, we have the icons, so capital letter icons dot home. So that is like, we want the home icon. So the bottom navigation item is another widget. We have icon. They were now saying icon, which is equal to the icons dot home. So we will have to, then the second argument after icon, that's this one, which is important, is the label. So we're going to say label. Then we cannot put in home. So I have to bring back what is it called, my ID here, and I'm going to R. And once we wait for it, you can see there is a bottom navigation below it that is going to have a kind of bottom navigation once the app has come in. So it says the icons length should be greater than 2. So we don't want one icon, we want 2. So I'm going to copy it, as I said earlier in the previous video. Then I'm going to put a comma because this is one item. Like if you notice our that, okay, so we have 1, 2, so the same thing here. So we're going to click enter. I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to change this one to settings, which I think I'm going to change this text to settings, yeah, something like this. So let's bring back this one here and let me restart the app. So we have 2 items in the list. So it's like a list. You can see we have the home, we have the settings, the home, and the settings. So let me just take this one a little bit up, so as you can see. Mind this one, yeah. So we have the home, we have the settings. So in here we've looked at the 3 most important widgets that we have here. We have the bottom navigator, we have the body, we have the alt bar. Now if you don't get the grasp of the bottom navigation, you can always leave it, but it's important to know it. So the bottom navigation is a property which takes a kind of what's it called, a widget, and inside the widget we have an item which is a list, and we talked about list. Now inside the list we have 2 children, 1, That is two items, and each of them is a bottom navigation bar item. So this is called the bottom navigation bar item. This is 1, 2. The both of them are inside the list, and when Flutter takes them, it's going to arrange them accordingly. So this is the icon, which is icon widget icons.home, and this is the label. This is also the text, the settings. This is the icon. Now, if you don't want to use like this in this label, you can always use a widget, text widget possibly, and I can put in home. So that did not work. So it looks like the label just takes in a string. So let's just put in what's it called, home. And so that's how it works when it comes to creating of what's it called, these stuffs. Now we have one more issue we need to fix, and this is all these blue lines here. Now these blue lines is like when you hover on it, it says use const to improve performance. Now because of this is not going to change, all of this is not going to change, we're going to put const in front of it. So I'm going to come in here. I told you before that const means, so once I put in const, that error is gone. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in const. That error is gone. As for this one, I'm going to put it in front of the item. Const. That's the list, and that is gone. So we have something like this. Now, what I want to do extra is I want to put this hello world in the center. I want to take this hello world and I want to put it in the center here. So to do that, I'm going to close all of these ones here, and I'm going to come to the body. Now there is another widget called center. Center is a widget, and it takes a child. Are you looking at it? It's a widget that takes a child. So once I put in the child, I can now delete this comma and copy all of these things inside the child. So there's a widget called center that takes a child, and the child is the text. So once I come in here and I hot restart, we're trying to restart the application. Can you see that we have the hello world in the center? Now this is our first hello world application. I know it might be so much to handle at first, but you can keep rewatching the video and understanding what is going on, and there will be an handout for you, easy handout for you to understand actually what is going on and what you have to do. Now it's so simple because it might not be too simple, but we just have a material app that has one property. See, if I break it down, the only property we have is the home. Now inside the home we have 3 properties, 3 arguments: the app bar, the body, and the bottom navigation. And that's what's expected for you to go and practice for day 2. Now under the app bar, we take another, so this is a property, an argument. App bar is equals to, then there's a widget called app bar in capital letter. So you don't use small letter for widgets, you only use small letter for properties, arguments. So there's a widget called app bar, which has 2 arguments for now. Just one argument, the title, and we're using a text widget. So we're going to be explaining what a text widget is later. Then in the body, just to put the text in the center, we use a center widget. And the center widget is like, okay, what do you want to put in the center? Where is the child of what you want to put in the center? That's why we used the text in here, as you can see. If we're not going to use text, we can use icon, which we did before. So we said icon, which is capital letter icons.home, as you can see. Then I can put in, so let me show you. Let me just put an R, and you'll see that we have an icon here. So that's like, you can put any widget in there. So but now we don't want to use icon, we're going to be using the text widget. I'll just remove all of these, and I'll just say const text, which takes hello world. So let me save that. Let me hot restart. And you have that, and that's how we build in our hello world application. Now if you notice, there is this debug banner here. And how do we remove that debug banner? So I'm going to close the home. Now there is another property in the material app. There's a property in the material app that is called to remove the debug banner. So it's very important. So you can just type in debug show checked model mode banner. So just type in debug, that is on top of the home. It could be anywhere. It's another property. Debug show check model, and you can just say it to false. So false means, we talked about boolean. No, you don't want it. False means no. So once I save now and I come here and I do an auto restart, then we get rid of the debug banner and we have a simple application. So that's for the hello world application. You can always try and see how you can build that from scratch using Flutter. And that's that for day 2. It is great. It is nice having to talk to you about this programming language. So in the next video, we'll just be doing a recap of what we talked about for day 2 on top, based on functions, based on what's it called, list. We'll be looking at various things under that. So thank you and do have a nice day.